Namaskar, you're watching In Focus. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. India celebrates Akshay Urja Divas every year on 20th of August to create awareness about the importance of renewable resources of energy. The main objective or aim behind celebrating this day is to make people aware of the use of natural sources of energy like solar energy, wind energy, hydroelectric energy, because the Earth's resources, we understand, are depleting at a dangerously high rate every day. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also hailed the consistent rise of renewable energy sector in the country and the manner in which it is helping India achieve its global climate commitments. In fact, India today stands at 4th position in the world in terms of overall installed renewable energy capacity, 5th in the world as far as solar energy capacity is concerned, and 4th in terms of wind energy installed capacity. Today, In Focus will deliberate on this theme with a special focus on solar energy capacity in the country. Let me quickly introduce you to the three eminent guests who are joining me in the program today. We have with us Jeevan Kumar Jethani, Director and Scientist, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy; Suhas Donti, Director, MV Group; also Rajat Seksaria, CEO, Acme Solar Holding Private Limited. Good afternoon and welcome, gentlemen, to this conversation. Before we begin, let's take a look at an important statement that Prime Minister Narendra Modi made during the Independence Day address. In the 75th Independence Day address to the nation from the ramparts of Red Fort, Prime Minister Narendra Modi mentioned the remarkable feat achieved by the power sector in the country, completing, in terms of renewable sector, 100 gigawatt target well within schedule, and the goal of 450 gigawatt of renewable energy for 2030.
आज भारत को ये संकल्प लेना होगा कि हम आजादी के 100 साल होने से पहले भारत को एनर्जी इंडिपेंडेंट बनाएंगे। और इसके लिए हमारा रोड मैप बहुत स्पष्ट है। गैस बेस्ड इकोनॉमी है, देश भर में सीएनजी पीएनजी का नेटवर्क हो, 20% इथेनॉल ब्लेंडिंग का टारगेट हो। भारत एक तय लक्ष्य के साथ आगे बढ़ रहा है। भारत ने इलेक्ट्रिक मोबिलिटी की तरफ भी कदम बढ़ाया है और रेलवे के 100% इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशन पर भी काम तेज गति से आगे बढ़ रहा है। भारतीय रेलवे 2030 तक नेट जीरो कार्बन एमिटर बनने का लक्ष्य रखा है।
That was Prime Minister Narendra Modi during Independence Day address, talking about the manner in which India is fulfilling its climate commitments. Jeevan Jethani ji, if I can come to you first and begin our conversation. A few weeks ago, United Nations climate report came that spoke about the disturbing movement towards climate catastrophe and how the world must act together at this point in time. At the same time, the manner in which India is fulfilling its climate goals and commitments, in fact, in many cases also exceeding them. Putting these two contexts together, what is the crossroad that you think India stands at the moment where we're talking about climate responsibility and the manner in which it's adapting to renewable energies, particularly solar energy?
Thank you, Mr. Ghosh. And yes, of course, the government has set a target of earlier reaching 175 gigawatt by 2022.
Right.
And now we are going to increase our target, and our Honorable Prime Minister has already declared in the climate summit of the UN nation that will achieve 450 gigawatt by 2030. And out of this, around 240 gigawatt or 280 gigawatt will be from the solar. Solar, already we have achieved 40 to 45 gigawatt and around 50 gigawatt. But we are going to reach our target, what we have prescribed. Also, we are taking small steps like we are implementing the PM Kusum scheme.
Right.
In PM Kusum scheme, we are going to solarize all the agriculture pumps. At present, the target is 35 lakh, but sooner or later we are going to increase that target, and we'll try to cover all the agriculture pumps solarized. And with the present target, 30.8 gigawatt, around 31 gigawatt is going to be achieved through this PM Kusum scheme. And another is the rooftop solar. These 40 gigawatt targeted from the rooftop solar. Of course, the achievements are not as satisfactory as in the other, like solar park and other sectors. But there are challenges, and we are addressing these challenges. So far, we have achieved 5 gigawatt in the rooftop solar, but we have taken several steps by which we will achieve our 40 gigawatt target very soon.
Right. Suhas Donti, if I can come to you. Now, growing up, we've all been familiar with renewable sources of energy, solar energy, but the kind of focus and the urgent attention that climate change data requires us to look at, how do you see renewable sources of energy are becoming indispensable today? Not as an alternative, but an indispensable element of our energy basket at the moment.
Thank you. Yeah, certainly, like today, renewable sources of energy have become very vital in stand of not only India but throughout the world. While, of course, as we just heard Mr. Prime Minister speaking, Honorable Prime Minister speaking, it is it is a core strategy of the government to focus on this front. And I see that we have immense potential to develop this in our country and achieve this, because the sunshine, we are blessed with great sunshine when it comes to solar, and we have ample natural resources when it comes to other sources of renewable energy as well. So this goal I see is achievable at this moment with various policies and framework, and making India a very favorable country to invest or set up manufacturing, or even for developers to set up plants for renewable energy.
Right. We'll talk about each of those elements in detail in the minutes ahead. Rajat, if I can come to you with your to know about your initial thoughts. The recent years have also seen greater momentum in India as far as commitment to renewable sources of energy is concerned. In my introduction, talking in terms of installed capacity of various forms of renewable energy, we occupy important positions in the world. How do you see that acceleration that has happened in the recent years?
Good afternoon to all your viewers. And I think the very fact that we are now discussing this topic as a mainstream is itself a testimony to how much progress renewable energy has made. See, I can, almost my journey as a professional, when the renewable energy, especially the solar thing started around 10 years back, 5 megawatt was considered to be a milestone for us in the industry. And at that time, I remember the government had set a target of 20 gigawatt by 2020. Just see the progress. We set an initial target of 20 gigawatt. We achieved that within 5 years. And then we set a target of 175 gigawatt, which we are on track to set. And today we as a nation have a target of 450 gigawatts. So the acceleration is phenomenal. And all I can say is that the kind of ecosystem we have developed, the kind of policy we have developed, kind of focus we have brought in, the kind of expertise now we have developed, we are all set to take off. And it would be not wrong to say that unlike many other industries where India has been playing a catching up, renewable, especially solar power, is one industry where we are marching along with the most developed countries of the world. In fact, in many cases, we have actually been examples for others to emulate. So yes, it is an extremely good success story, and within the developing world, India is again setting an example for others to emulate. And I'm sure this will only create more opportunities for our people. It will allow us to take the climate leadership that we aspire to do, and it will create a generation. It will be a good gift for us to the next generation, where we have actually reversed the impact of industrialization, and at least you have started towards that movement.
Right. Jeevan Jethani, if I can come to you, talking about solar energy capacity in particular, as Rajat just mentioned that at one point in time a few gigawatts was considered huge, and today we are aiming at 100 gigawatts of solar energy capacity. How do you trace this journey from solar energy being looked at as an important yet perhaps expensive, not as sustainable as other sources of energy, to today talking about it becoming an important part of our energy basket? How do you see this journey that India has tracked to come to this point and aim for higher?
Yes, in 2010 when the National Solar Mission was launched, and as Rajat was saying that at that time the target was just 20 gigawatt up to 2022 in that original National Solar Mission. And the tariff that was declared by the Central Regulatory Commission during that period was around 18 rupees. And now under the bidding process, we are getting a tariff just 1 rupees 99 paise. So this is how the tariff has come down. And of course, there are several measures that have been taken by the government, and that has catalyst in bringing down the cost. So initially, when after this 18 rupees, the cost that has been prescribed by the central regulator, we went for bidding, and the e-reverse bidding, which was the new concept introduced by the government of India, was a phenomenal. And now the other countries are following the same procedure. So in the e-reverse bidding, you have to quote a tariff, and then there will be an e-reverse bidding. And whosoever is quoting lowest will get the bid. So in the first bid itself, the price came down to around 12 rupees or so, and thereafter it further came down. And I remember in 2015, the government when declared the target from increasing from 20 to 100 gigawatt, the next bid we reached a level of around 4 rupees 50 paisa. And thereafter, the solar PV technology has also involved, the manufacturing has involved, and then the price has come down very, very low. We have taken other policy measures like the interstate transmission charges and losses were made free. So the power that has been generated in the state of Rajasthan can be purchased by any state like in Bihar or Assam or even Arunachal Pradesh, just at the same rate as it is being produced in their state itself. So this has created a market, a potential for buying, and also the renewable energy obligation, that is RPO. So the RPO has also given a push to the solar. We have prescribed the solar RPO target as earlier it is, when the mission was launched, it was prescribed 3%, and then it was increased to 8%. And now in the recent trajectory, we have prescribed it 10.5% of the total energy mix. So with these policy measures, the solar has taken ahead, and then we are getting a lot of capacity addition in the solar. And with this capacity addition, the prices have also come down.
Right. Suhas, how do you reflect on the drivers that are leading to the strengthening of renewable energy market in the country, solar energy in particular? Jeevan ji just spoke about the policy decision, but how has the private sector, the government come together to really make the most of the opportunities that are coming in at the moment? So what are those drivers that is leading the change towards renewable energy today?
Over the last few years, India has really, made it a point to focus on driving this renewable energy sector. So, especially if I'd like to comment about solar, there are ample number of policies that have come out in the level of the central government or the state government, like already, my fellow delegates mentioned about the PM Kusum scheme, which is not only increasing the solar, but also helping the farmers to the root level of who are the strength of our Indian economy. And so that is a very important aspect of PM's Kusum scheme, which is a very important aspect in this solar development. Apart from that, the solar rooftop is widely encouraged and widely used in our country, which is which is very impeccable and is also being used as a model, I'm sure, in a lot of many other countries. And right now, I see a lot of focus when it comes to the government with the manufacturing of solar products. Since more than 95% is being imported from China, government is really pushing and making a very friendly ecosystem for manufacturing that can take place in India with production linked incentive scheme that is coming up, which is a big welcome step, as well as there is an ALMM list so that to make it very convenient and easy for the developers to choose as it is being approved by the ministry themselves as to what manufacturers are reliable and they can place a bet on. So these kind of policies are really helping the country to achieve the renewable energy goal.
Right. Jeevan Jethani, that point, if I can bring to you, it's very crucial about the capability to manufacture components of solar energy installations. There was a time when most of it had to be imported. That would add to the expensive. Now that scene is changing. If you can take us through that, because that plays a key role in making solar energy not just widely available, the capacity, but also affordable in the country.
Yes, to bring the manufacturing in the country, we have to first create the market.
Right.
So to create a market, we have prescribed that in the PM Kusum scheme, under our CPSU scheme, under our rooftop scheme, wherever we are giving the subsidy, there the solar panels that has been manufactured in India with solar modules and solar cell manufactured in India will be utilized. So with this push, around 37 gigawatt, so 12 gigawatt from the CPSU scheme, 20 gigawatt from the around 21 gigawatt from the PM Kusum scheme, and 4 gigawatt from the rooftop scheme. So total 37 gigawatt market is available for the domestically manufactured solar cells and modules. So it gives a clear vision to the manufacturer. Yes, this much market capacity is available in India, and if we are going to manufacture, the product will be sold. Apart from this, to push manufacturing, the production linked incentive scheme has been introduced, and where we are going to provide 4,500 crore, for which bids have already been invited by our agency, the IREDA, and soon we are going to select these manufacturing firms, and there will be manufacturing units in the country.
Right. We'll continue this conversation. We're talking about solar and renewable energy capacity in the country and how to take it forward from here. We're heading for a short break. Lots more coming up. Do stay with us.
Your window to rising India. India's voice on global platforms. Latest news from India and around the world. In-depth analysis of global headlines. Watch DD India in your country. Available for downlink in all Southeast Asian countries. STTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 17 at 93.5 degrees east. HDTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 10 at 83 degrees east. For technical details, scan here. Switch to DD India now. With the world's largest COVID vaccination drive, India is leading the way. As the vaccine reaches every corner of the nation, do not forget the mantra, Dawai bhi, Kadai bhi. Let's continue our fight against COVID-19. Vaccination along with social distancing, sanitization and masks.
Mask up, India!
Put your mask on and cover your nose and be safe.
Mask up India.
Welcome back. You're watching In Focus, and we're talking about the growing capacity of solar and renewable energy in the country, the manner in which India is fulfilling its climate commitments. Three eminent guests continue to be with us. Jeevan Kumar Jethani, Director and Scientist, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. Suhas Donti, Director, MV Group, and Rajat Seksaria, CEO, Acme Solar Holdings Private Limited. Rajat, if I can come to you, just before we head for the break, we were talking about the market for solar energy in the country. In terms of supply and demand for commerce in solar energy, how do you see that scene is changing now, the manner in which solar renewable sources of energy, they are competing with a conventional form of energy which had dominated, which continue to dominate India and the world markets at the moment? How are renewables, solar making space for themselves as we speak?
Yeah, so I think we are at a very, very interesting juncture in this particular debate. So initially it was about giving push to solar, solar finding its feet. It was like a small baby getting on its feet.
Yes.
Now solar industry has grown into a full grown youth. So now today I am very happy to inform that while we are doing good to the planet, good to the climate, but purely on the merit, solar power today is for electron for per unit is the cheapest form of energy. So today solar at rupees 244 paisa, we have running plant as Acme in Badla, and recent bids have been close to 2 rupees, is the cheapest form of energy compared to any other conventional form of energy, even coal, as things stand by. So now that we have created a market for ourselves on our own merit, we can compete with other sources of power. We are now heading into the next generation challenges of how to integrate solar further into our power ecosystem. As all of us would know, solar inherently has one limitation, that it is generated in particular hours of a day, and power per se cannot be commercially stored at very large scale. So the next level of challenge is, how does solar complement other source of power? How do we balance the grid? How do we ensure that multiple sources of power into our grid work in synchronous manner so that we have a stable and reliable grid? So I think generally if you study the market landscape, now we have started moving from what we call plain vanilla solar into what is called hybrid solar or solar plant put up along with some storage capacity, and that would be the next 4 or 5 years where solar kind of grow into a slightly more complex form of offering, at times complementary with other sources of power. That is what I think the way ahead we have. And the third point which I just want to mention, I think you initially touched upon. See, one thing we just need to remember, power per se is only around 20% of the primary source of energy that we consume in India, or generally the world consumes. So if we want to make real change, a sustainable change, renewable power needs to move into that other 80% of energy, which is still dominated by hydrocarbon. You still have oil, gas, and other forms of energy. And that is where, a lot of us noted with a lot of happiness that Prime Minister also announced a green hydrogen mission. So right. Green hydrogen essentially further utilization of solar power or other renewable power, but rather than selling it to just power, maybe converting that into hydrogen or green ammonia, and then going after the other market which is dominated by hydrocarbon. So that I think is going to be the most prominent theme in next 1 or 2 decades for India and the world in general.
Right. Jeevan Jethani ji, Rajat speaks about the importance to be able to integrate the solar energy ecosystem with the existing, perhaps even conventional energy ecosystems. How do we take that forward? We're looking at different policy decisions where solar energy is promoted, but this integration part, there's also a technical phrase of evacuation of solar energy to be able to transport it and transfer it to masses. I mean, we've made it cheaper, but is it also easily accessible to the masses? On that front, sir, what is being done?
Front, as I earlier told that we have made interstate transmission charges and losses. So the power that is generated from Rajasthan can be transferred to any state. So that is one. Another is, you see, solar is a energy that can be generated anywhere, and India is in the because in the tropical region. So everywhere the solar radiation is good, apart from some part of the Jammu Kashmir or the Arunachal Pradesh or the northeastern state where the cloudy days are more than that. But in the all other states of India, the solar additions are good. Around 4 to 5 units a day we can generate. And the best part of this solar is this decentralized use of solar. Like I have told in the rooftop solar, you don't need any transmission line there. The power is generated where it is required. Similarly, in the PM Kusum scheme, where the power is generated in the field or the farm itself, and the farmer is going to run its solar pump, or he can use for other purposes. So decentralized generation of solar doesn't make any issue regarding the integration with the grid. But of course, when we are talking about the large solar parks of 2000 megawatt, 4000 megawatt, like that, in such cases, of course, we need long transmission line, we need a large chunk of lands that is required for the development of solar park. And in that case, there is an issue of the grid integration, because in case of a cloud coverage, the generation goes down from 2000 megawatt directly to say 500 megawatt or so. So there are concerns, but still we have such kind of technologies available, like my colleague from Rajat has said, that we are having this hybrid kind of technology. We are having the energy storage plants. It could be a battery storage, it could be a pumped storage. So these are the measures we have already taken. And apart from this, as he said, apart from this vanilla solar, when you say that only solar,
yes,
we have built plants for the round-the-clock solar or round-the-clock renewable energy, wherein we are getting renewable energy mix of solar, mix of wind, mix of small hydro, mix of some other sources. So integrating all these sources, the power is available round the clock. And there are, of course, challenges of the grid integration, but there are solutions available, like forecasting and scheduling. Now, fair enough data are available where we can say that, yes, now there will be a cloud coverage, and then we have to adjust our solar generation, and we have to ramp up our other resources of power so that the grid balancing is available.
Right.
So these are the measures.
Right. Suhas, on the same theme of integration of solar energy capacities with other energy capacities, whether it's conventional or other forms of renewables, what do you see the way forward, and also reflect on the manner in which we in India are quite lucky to be able to have access to all these forms of renewable and clean energy. And International Solar Alliance that Prime Minister led was also a testimony to that fact. So we have those sources, but the manner in which we are able to harness it, and as we just talked about, store it and transmit it, is going to be the game changer in the coming years.
Definitely. In fact, we recently have achieved a very big milestone of round-the-clock solar power supply. That is an integration with battery system as well as conventional solar plant. So that itself is like a big milestone that India needs to celebrate, because we have reached a stage where we can expect to use clean solar energy round the clock. And coming to other ideas of integrating it to our the solar, the EV vehicles, which is going to be another big landmark, because India also has an ambitious goal of having 100% EV by 2030. So in fact, our solar energy or any other renewable energy, in fact, should be ready to cater that market. And as Rajat ji was saying, that integration of solar in hydrogen is a very important step that India is looking forward to. And it is really great that it is not a focus of just one sector, but multiple sectors to achieve this goal. And India understands that it is not just, we're not just ready in one front. We are coming together in an integrated front of it. And More importantly, as we have already seen a great success in solar of 100 gigawatt already achieved, and further expansions. And again, I'd like to come back to the integration of manufacturing that is really happening in a strong way in India, is that we are seeing high capacities coming up that is focused and that is in line with the Honorable Prime Minister's Atmanirbhar Bharat ideology of India. And I'd like to say that in the near future, we're going to see most of the solar products being manufactured in India and are going to be made in India, that is going to be not only used in India, but also be able to cater for the entire world.
Right. And Rajat, if you talk about manufacturing, as Suhas just mentioned, for manufacturing of that scale to happen, to become in future one of the largest manufacturers of solar energy product, we also need that kind of investment. How is the world today looking at India, not just its capacity to harness solar energy, but also manufacture components of harnessing that energy, the investment that is coming in? There is an open 100% FDI that is there for the sector. How is that crucial for that manufacturing target to be achieved by the country?
So I think, if you critically evaluate the solar sector, while as a country we achieved good success in ramping up the capacities, but maybe we were probably from a policy point of view a bit slower on ramping up the manufacturing capability. I think as was mentioned earlier, the first idea was to create a market, a cost competitive market for power. And now that the market has grown, I can clearly see a strategy falling in place where now we are ramping up manufacturing. So if you specifically take the solar plant, for example,
yes.
So if you keep the modules aside, everything else is now being manufactured in India. I remember 2010 when I was putting up the plant, almost 80-90% value addition would happen from components which we would import. Today, if you talk about inverters, today if you talk about the cable, the steel structures, other gadgetry involved, all of them is not only manufactured in India. A lot of these vendors are now also exporting this to many other countries. The bigger component in a solar plant is modules. So now from 2021 onwards, almost full-scale manufacturing would happen in India. We expect that almost 60 to 70%, maybe even 80% of the modules next year onward would actually be manufactured in India, and that is where we would have probably solved the last piece of the chain, last piece of the puzzle, where we were still importing from many other countries. So now we are seeing that momentum. There is a very, very decisive policy. There was a bit of policy confusion, which didn't allow too much of long-term investment to be committed. Now there is a clear policy roadmap, and I can clearly see investments now lining up in general for the solar sector and for manufacturing. In fact, we as a company, Acme, while we have been on the developing side of the business, we ourselves are now putting together a full investment package to invest in the manufacturing of modules and other components of solar. So I see that next 2 years there would be a rapid scale up of manufacturing activities as well in India, and not only will it serve Indian demand, it will probably serve a lot of the European and the US demand. There is an element of geopolitical shift that is also happening, right? There is a growth of China, and there is a movement globally to see that there are alternate areas of production for solar, and it's not a one country show globally, and that is where I think we can reap benefits. And I think one thing which really goes for India, that like we did in IT, we have created a huge manpower base, a talent base, which can kind of work in each and every spectrum of the renewable energy or within the solar energy. So I think this is the time for us to leapfrog into manufacturing. The stars are aligned, we have the right policies, we have the money flowing in, we have the demand, and we have the global geopolitical setup, which is very, very convenient right now. So I think next 2-3 years we should not lose momentum, and hopefully we would have caught the bus even on the manufacturing side.
Right. Jeevan Jethani, is there also, as is often deliberated on global platforms when we talk about cleaner energy in the context of climate change, that developed countries must share green technology with developing countries, and that sharing would be crucial in bringing everyone on board as far as moving ahead with cleaner sources of energy is concerned. Is such sharing taking place which is helping us ramp up our own capacity, whether it is in manufacturing, whether it is in taking research forward in cleaner energy with global leading renewable energy nations like United States, China, as Rajat mentioned earlier?
Yes, as we know that we have already signed a Paris Agreement, and under the Paris Agreement there is an Article 6, and the Article 6 talks about these kind of things what you have just spoken. It says about the trading of the carbon emission. It says about the non-market mechanisms. So in non-market mechanism there is an element of finance, there is an element of capacity building. All such things are there, and the framework for all these things are being negotiated, and we are hopeful that in the next COP26 this will be finalized, and India would get such kind of support from the developed countries. Apart from this Paris Agreement and COP26, we are in dialogue with the other countries, like recently our Prime Minister has also declared about this India-US Climate Change Partnership 2030, wherein we are collaborating with the US. Similarly, with the other leading developed countries, we are in negotiation. We are having certain MOUs, and we are getting their technology, and also not only technology but also the capacity building and finance side. So these all measures are being taken simultaneously.
Right, right. And we'll take forward this conversation after a short break. There's lots more coming up. Do continue to stay with us.
As the day unfolds and news and events take shape, we get you complete coverage of every news breaking in, tracking new developments as they happen. Midday Prime English, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. on DD India. Your window to rising India. India's voice on global platforms. Latest news from India and around the world. In-depth analysis of global headlines. Watch DD India in your country. Available for downlink in Middle East countries. STTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 17 at 93.5 degrees east. HDTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 10 at 83 degrees east. For technical details, scan here. Switch to DD India now.
Welcome back. You're watching In Focus, and we're deliberating on India's growing potential as far as renewable energy is concerned, particularly solar energy. And another eminent panelist is joining us in this conversation. We have with us Ranjit Gupta, Chair, FICCI, Renewable Energy. Ranjit ji, welcome and good afternoon. We're talking about various aspects of renewable energy exploration, capacity building in the country. You've just joined us. Share with us your thoughts about the manner in which you see solar energy, in particular from in the past decades, being an alternative, important but alternative source of energy to really becoming mainstream as we speak.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me on this panel. And I think I'm going to perhaps repeat a lot of the things that have all the eminent panelists have already said. So do bear with me. it is true that, the company that I work with, Azure, was the first company that set up a grid-connected utility scale project, almost 12 years ago, right? And at that time, the project was a very big project of 2 megawatts, right? And today, we are doing a project that is 600 megawatts at a single site with 900 megawatts of modules behind it. So you can see by that itself that over the last 12 years, project sizes have gone from 2-3 megawatts to almost 1,000 megawatts each project. So certainly, the solar energy is now a mainstream source of energy for the distribution companies. It is typically 30 to 40% cheaper than their APPC cost, which is their average power procurement cost. It's almost 50-60% cheaper than a new build thermal asset. If you build a new coal asset or a gas asset, a new renewable asset, which is either solar or wind, could be 50-60% cheaper. So, because of that, in the times when we started this business 10, 12, 15 years ago, renewable energy, whether it is wind or solar, had to be pushed to the states, because obviously the distribution companies were wary of buying energy that was more expensive than their basket of energy, right? But over the last at least 3 or 4 years, that has completely reversed, where the power that you get from renewable energy resources, whether it is solar or wind, is cheaper, much cheaper than not only a new build thermal asset, but also from their average procurement price. And remember, the average procurement price is a combination of old assets and new assets. So there are some cheaper assets and there are some more expensive assets. So if you include even the cheaper assets and their basket as such, the renewable energy that they buy today from the IPPs through these auctions that are held across the country is much, much cheaper. So certainly, the role of renewable energy has improved, increased massively. And today, between 10 to 12% of the energy that is consumed in the grid is coming from wind and solar, which is much more than what it was just a few years ago. In the last 7 years, the installed capacity of solar projects has become 7 times in the last 7 years, which also demonstrates how the solar projects have become very, very cost effective for the distribution companies.
Right, and conversations about solar energy, Ranjit ji, is also incomplete till we talk about International Solar Alliance, in which India plays a key role. How do you see that also has contributed importantly to deliberations and actions on solar energy, particularly vis-a-vis India?
So the International Solar Alliance, is a very important alliance where India, as you know, is the founding member. And I think as the Solar Alliance goes, the impact of the Solar Alliance is more on, I think, the policy which India is pushing across the world, right? Where we are trying to make sure that India plays its part as far as climate change or reversal of climate change is concerned, not only locally, not only within India, but also across the world. And, making sure that wherever across the world where perhaps renewable energy is not so ingrained in the culture or in the energy basket of the distribution companies, through the International Solar Alliance, India is making sure that India is playing its part as a global leader to make sure that, because as such, the climate change reversal is not a sole responsibility of one country, right? I mean, air, it's not as if the air above India is clean, then the air above, and if the air above our rest of the planet is unclean, then our air can remain clean. No, so it's a global effort. And the International Solar Alliance is India's, is India's push so that, climate change reversal can be an international global issue and not just an issue that is affecting India in isolation.
Right. Jeevan Jethani ji, if I can bring you in there while we're talking about International Solar Alliance. It started as a very ambitious mission, bringing nations together on a platform, on a theme that was never seen before. In these years, what have been the key achievements, key milestones for this mission so far?
Earlier, when the International Solar Alliance was earlier declared, only the countries between the tropical regions, these Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn were to be included. But now we are seeing that even the other countries like Germany, France, they want to be the member of these International Solar Alliance. And this is because the sun never sets. And then when sun never sets and sun is giving energy to all over the world, it has importance for every nation. And every nation is now want to be part of the International Solar Alliance. One of the mission under this is one sun, one world, and one grid.
Right.
So you see, if we can create a global grid, then we can continuously get the solar energy. So this is one. Apart from that, there are number of activities that has been replicated in the other countries, particularly in the southern African countries, because these countries are depriving of the energy access, and the measures that have been taken by the India, like we have electrified all our villages, we have now reached to every household, the electricity has reached to every household. There are areas where the grid can't reach. It's not economically viable to reach the grid in certain areas. We have installed solar, small solar power packs to these households so that they get the electricity. We have given the solar pumps. We are working in the decentralized renewable energy sources for the livelihood. So these are the different kind of I can say applications which can be reflected and which can be provided in the other similar countries like the African countries or the other countries which has potential for the energy access. So the International Solar Alliance is doing all these activities, and the main mission of the International Solar Alliance is to provide the technology, provide the finance, provide the capacity building. So all these things are being carried out by them.
Right. Rajat, a few minutes ago, we were talking about the crucial aspect of capacity building in terms of manpower. If we talk about conventional sources of energy, whether it's exploration, a lot of research, dedicated institutions are meant to create a body of trained workforce to work in that industry, in that sector. As far as renewable is concerned, where do we stand today? Because you said that the next 5-6 years are going to be crucial as we expand our capacity. What kind of trained workforce are we looking at, and do we have that sort of institutional mechanism to provide?
So I think the story there is a bit mixed, to be honest. See, a lot of our capacity building has happened through the companies who have grown up, right? So India, as we all know, is known for its frugal engineering. So that is what we have brought as developers, as the community of renewable power. We have brought that frugal engineering to play, and that has played a very crucial role in bringing down the capital cost involved. The complexity of the engineering has come down so that we can, we can deliver and implement project much faster at a much lower cost. So to that extent, people have learned. 10 years back, there was an entire set of industry without any hands-on knowledge. Now people have learned, as my colleague Ranjit mentioned, from 2 megawatt, hundreds of megawatt, and that size we have attained. And today, we do one of the largest projects globally. We compete well even with China. So that way, our manpower has developed. Where I think we are still lagging, and which is where I think we need more institutional focus, is on cutting-edge research. So we are adopters of technology which is being found globally. So a lot of research happens in places like Europe or even Australia. So we are good at adopting that. A lot of Indians are involved in that research. But as a country, I think we need to have serious focus on doing some of this cutting-edge resource ourselves. So that is where I think it would be very, very fair to admit we have still a long way to go. We are still emulating some of the developed countries. But I think, as we have seen in so many other sectors, that is where we need to now focus on. And there is a related point which came up earlier in the discussion, right? So while yes, one aspect of the Paris climate change says that we need to be given technology, But there is another important angle. The biggest cost that goes into the project, the biggest commodity that goes into a renewable project is neither steel nor a module. It is the money, because it's a very, very capital heavy business. And the cost of money is something which is very important. And this is where I think we as a country, when we go for next round of negotiations in Glasgow, need to focus. A lot of this low cost money which is there globally needs to come into places like India, so that we can go further cost competitive on developing the projects. So, when you talked about climate change, from 1850 when the industrialization started in Honest till now, almost 2300 teratons of carbon has been emitted, and out of that almost 80% has happened in the developed world. Today they to cleaner technologies faster, but there is a historic climate justice element that the Prime Minister keeps talking about, and that is where it is important that while yes, on technology we need to globally collaborate, but it is very important that capital, which is I think the source of competitive advantages for these developed countries with cheap capital, flows into the country. And it is a matter of almost a right for us to have access to that capital if we want to fast track our clean energy programs as well.
Right. So how's that idea about we quickly adopting available important technology, but that creation takes a little time. I want to just divert a little and talk about the manner in which India today is also one of the fastest growing startup ecosystem. A lot of interesting research, new technologies are being created here in India, finding solutions to diverse problems. In renewable energy, in solar sector, do you see startups coming up? Do you see a lot of potential opportunities for them?
Absolutely. I'm very glad that you brought up this topic. It was much needed. In fact, we have seen that many of the companies that we are hearing today, that is, being the key competitor, the key contributor to the renewable sector, and especially the solar sector, were once upon a time startup. And in fact, talking about ourselves, and we started in '92 with, and in 2006 we got 15 megawatt of capacity, and now we are talking about growing to 3,000 megawatt. So to support the startups is really important, and I see great and immense potential in India with respect to the knowledge base that we have, the talent base that we have, as well as the wonderful ideas our citizens have the potential to bring it up in the nation. So just adding upon what Rajat said, it is really important to focus on the research and development of in the industry. So I believe that the most important aspect right now is to build the right ecosystem to surpass this inflection point that we are at this moment with solar. As we reached 100 gigawatt, and our goal is to reach let's go more ambitious, and we want to make solar integral part of our energy consumption, and slowly get rid of the conventional forms of energy. It is really important to create that supply chain as well as the ecosystem in terms of R&D units, in terms of universities that are focused on these sectors, that are developing new technology, as well as investing on research and integrating the supply chain end to end. That is, I feel, is the most crucial aspect that we are looking at today.
Right. Ranjit Gupta ji, I'll come to you for the final thoughts. One shouldn't talk about renewable energy only because petrol or diesel prices have gone up and they're expensive today. But if we do talk about the road ahead, the manner in which these different forms of energy sector is going to coexist, we were talking about hybrid nature of coexistence. What is your view, what is your vision of the years ahead, the manner in which conventional, renewable, will together, and the manner in which they'll form the energy basket of India?
So, in my opinion, that we should step away from thermal slowly but surely. Of course, there is a lot of investment and public money that has gone into setting up the thermal projects that are currently operating. So therefore, we can't suddenly shut them down one fine day, and it will not be possible also because if we look at the nature of renewable energy currently, it is intermittent. Though of course, as storage technologies become more and more prevalent, the color of renewable energy will also become dispatchable in nature, but we are still not there at the moment. It will take a few years to get there. So till that time, the conventional fossil fuel energy is going to play an important role to ensure that the grid keeps humming. We can't wish away fossil fuel. But what we can do in the country is two things. One is that there are several old plants on thermal side that are operating, which we do need to take a tough decision and shut those down, which are they are older plants, so therefore they're less efficient and they belch out more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. So therefore, those plants we need to certainly shut down. Overall, the thermal energy plant load factors are in the mid-50s currently, and they should be close to 80%. So, when you run a project which is designed to run at 85-90%, if you run it at 50-55%, you are making it more inefficient. So therefore, by shutting down older plants, straight away what we will do is we will improve the plant load factor of the newer plants. We will run them more often, we'll run them at a higher efficiency level, and therefore we will clean up the environment to that extent, even though it is conventional power. And we should not build any new projects, certainly on the thermal side. All new capacity should only be renewable. The government has already started, adding projects for storage. There is 1,000 megawatt hours and 2,000 megawatt hours tenders, auctions, expression of interest that have come out from NTPC and SECI in the last couple of weeks, which will be more expensive than perhaps conventional energy or similar to conventional energy, but we need to add these capacities to start working on the cost curve, just like we did on the solar when solar was a lot more expensive.
Right.
The government pushed solar and wind so that we could get economies of scale, and the research and development that Rajat has spoken about, that needs to start humming for us to bring that curve down. And this is a good start, these tenders that SECI and NTPC are planning.
Right.
And slowly but surely, the renewable energy is going to become dispatchable. And with green hydrogen coming in, the Honorable Prime Minister has set a very ambitious goal of being completely energy self-sufficient by 2047. It's a very, very tall order, and we need to start, cracking on it as soon as possible if we want to achieve that.
Absolutely. Renewable is going to play a crucial role as far as energy independence is concerned for India. On that note, a big thanks to our panel today for joining us. Ranjit Gupta, Rajat Seksaria, Suhas Donti, Jeevan Kumar Jethani. Thanks very much for joining us in the program today, sharing your perspective on the rise and the future of solar and renewable sources of energy in the country. And with that, we also conclude this edition of In Focus. News and updates continue on DD India after a short break. Namaskar.